Hi, Sammy. Hello, everyone. If you can turn on your camera, that would be great because I want to see all your beautiful faces. I feel like all of the people that signed up for this class are like brand new people that I've never interacted with or that I have just like seen come across my page a few times here and there. But I'm excited to connect with you today and to dive into this masterclass. I literally, as I was putting this masterclass together, was like, this is going to be so much fun because I've never done a masterclass like this before, in the sense of we're going to actually break it up in a couple of different pieces with some subconscious reprogramming, with some like live rewiring. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to take with you outside of this masterclass to implement into your day-to-day to actually do the subconscious reprogramming yourself. And we're also going to do like a fun little visualization as we get started. So I would love to hear in the comments as you guys are coming in, what are your goals? Why are you here? What are you looking to get out of this class today? Obviously, you signed up for a reason. There was something in regards to my marketing that really resonated with you. So I would just love to hear in the chat. Tell me your little goals. Tell me why you're here. Tell me what you would love to get out of this class, and also just to connect with everyone that is here. And I'm going to pull up my chat really quick so I can see from everyone. Hi, Molly. Hi, Sammy. Hi, Abby. Hi, Kara. I know we've connected a lot on TikTok. It's fun to see you here. Leading into the happiness and safety to create more success. Love that. That's what this is all about. And while everyone else is chit-chatting in the chats, I'm actually just going to get started just so that we can dive right in, because I have a lot of information to cover today. So the first thing I just want to talk about is kind of why I created this masterclass, and I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about my story as time goes on in this class. But just as a baseline, why I created this is because I have talked to so many people in the online space that say to me, I have made money, I've signed clients, I've posted, I've launched, I've refined my messaging, I've done all of the things, but there is still a part of me deep down that feels like this success feels either hard to hold or it feels hard to create. I'm doing quote unquote all the things, but it's still not working out the way that I want to. And there are some telltale signs that people have shared with me throughout time on my mindset audits, just in my, group programs, etc., where, they tell me like I spiral when a post flops, or, when I don't get the engagement that I want, I feel like absolute crap. I question my worth when a client ghosts me, or when a client pulls out of a contract, or when a client doesn't show up to a call. I question, like, am I a good coach? I have all these certifications and I continue to get certifications and continue to read the books, but I still don't feel good enough. Or there's this feeling of like bracing for an income dip, even though you haven't had one. So there's always this feeling of like, is this a fluke? Am I building a legitimate business? Do I actually feel like successful? And so I hear these repeated thoughts from people again and again and again. That's like, what if I can't repeat this? Why do I feel off even though it's working? Why am I still overthinking every move? And overall, this is 99% of the time not a strategy gap, and it's actually a subconscious safety gap. So today, we're going to get to the root of all of that, why your subconscious is protecting your next level, the emotional patterns that you might be experiencing that are keeping you in that survival, and how to actually rewire the identity that actually feel safe receiving and holding more. So all in all, this masterclass is not about doing more. I'm going to give you some exercises, but this is not a space where I'm going to tell you do more, post more, show up more. This is about becoming someone who doesn't question what she's built, and also doesn't question her worth, and fully owns that she is, available for a multi 6, 7 figure business, whatever it is, right? So one thing straight that I really want you to, know as you get to know me a little bit more, because again, I don't know any of you that are here besides Sammy, but everyone else is new here. This masterclass is not, again, here to give you more to do, but it's here to show you what becomes possible when you shift how you be and how you show up on a day-to-day. So this is about creating from a place of deep subconscious safety and not hustle. So again, you're probably someone who already knows how to post, how to show up, you know what you want to do. You have these goals, you have massive goals. You're probably a high achiever like me as well too. And because your subconscious might not feel safe with that next level, and we're going to talk about what that looks like, being seen, receiving more, like owning yourself fully on social media feels like you're consistently like wasting your time and energy, like things are just not working. So this masterclass is here to remind you that you can create anything that you want in life. You don't have to do more. You get to just be more. I posted a really fun free training about how I am now 19 weeks pregnant today. And during my first trimester in pregnancy, I majorly slowed down. Obviously, I served my clients. I showed up on social media in the ways that I had to, but I pulled away a lot as well too. And that just brought all of this work even more so together. And you don't need another content formula. You need internal congruence with your subconscious and conscious mind. So this is your invitation to stop chasing results, to surrender a little bit and start becoming the version of you who naturally attracts your results. So I'm super excited to dive in, and we're actually going to dive in with a little bit of a visualization exercise. And I can't see you guys, so I'm just going to open this a little bit so I can see you guys. But I want everyone to just take a second. We're going to start by getting grounded and connecting to yourself and your goals. So most masterclasses are going to just start by spewing off a lot of information. And we're actually going to start by getting grounded, taking some space for ourselves, and actually taking some deep breaths. So we're going to take a second, and I want you to just get into a really comfortable position. So maybe place your feet flat on the floor, maybe cross your legs, maybe if that feels comfortable. I know I have one of those crisscross seats, so that's super comfortable for me. Putting your feet flat on the floor, placing your hands in your lap, just taking a moment to just get in the most comfortable position for you right now. And if it's available to you and you feel safe right now, closing your eyes, I'm just going to ask that you gently close your eyes. And then I'll just have you start by taking a few gentle, deep breaths. And as you take a deep breath in, maybe just hold it for a moment and then slowly, gently exhale. Just really letting your breath become your anchor here. And I want you to imagine that you are breathing in some clarity and just exhaling any confusion. And I'll just close my eyes with you as well too, so we can all tune in here. And every breath that you take in, make sure that it's coming from your belly. So really feeling your belly expand. Maybe you even place your hands on your stomach. And just taking a moment to bring presence to the body. So just notice what's showing up for you right now when you think about your business, when you think about creating success, when you think about your life. Are there any major feelings, stressors, tension that's coming up right now? And I'll invite you to, on your next inhale and next gentle exhale, just to really sigh it out and just really feel your shoulders drop. And you might notice maybe some gentle tingling in your face as you release and relax your face, as you let your shoulders drop. Maybe it feels good to wring out your neck or to release your jaw, to roll your neck, just to take a moment to really just be present with your body. And I want you to take a moment, and in whatever way this shows up for you, there's no right or wrong way to visualize. I want you to picture your current self that's sitting here right now. She's here because she's smart, she's driven, maybe done everything that she thought she was supposed to do. She's connecting to success in a new way, potentially. But just connecting to your current self that's here right now. Maybe your reasoning for being here, whether it's just to learn something new or it's just to be present on a call with me, or maybe it's to do some live rewiring. So just picturing your current self right now. What does she want? What does she desire? What is she calling in? What's her intention for being here today? Maybe she's overcoming the fear of being seen. Maybe she's creating more safety. Maybe she's been struggling to receive abundance and wants to call that in or wants to lean more into happiness and safety, but just taking a moment to be present with your current self, just to really tune into your intentions. I want you to just remember that the entire purpose of this class is just to remember that where intention goes, energy flows. So the more we focus on those beautiful intentions, the more our energy begins to walk towards them. And as you're sitting here, maybe just taking a couple more deep breaths in and out, really breathing into the belly. And I want you to begin to notice just even taking a few seconds to bring presence to your body. If you've begun to notice some relaxation wash over your body just by intending to do so, just by being present here. And you've connected with your current self, but I also want you to take a moment to connect to the version of you who already feels safe, successful, happy, abundant. In your mind, connecting to the version of you who doesn't hustle or grip or hold on to that tension. She doesn't wonder if it's working. She just knows that it's inevitable. And she shows up every single day excited, maybe excited to be seen, excited to feel safe, excited for what's to come in her business or in her life. Maybe she's the kind of woman who just gets paid for being in the room or just naturally feels abundant. And I want you to begin to let her take up space in your body in whatever way that feels right for you. Maybe you can let your breath expand into that new identity. Again, just by simply intending to do so, you can let the past self who built from pressure or built from that scarcity or built from that fear of being seen to take a step back. Almost like in your mind, you can see that version of you just shrinking as this new version expands. And just let the present self who scales from alignment step forward in your mind, letting that picture grow bigger and bigger in your mind of that version of you as you're connecting to her. And if you're feeling really antsy doing this, that's totally fine. That's actually the work. It's normal to find your mind and your body want to find something else to do or want to move or want to scratch or want to itch because you are taking a moment to just be present with yourself. And sometimes there can be discomfort there. So just repeating after me in your mind's eye, I'm no longer building from urgency. I'm building from alignment. It is safe for me to hold more clients, more income, more impact. My presence is enough. I trust myself to lead. I'm instructing my subconscious mind in this session today to release the version of me who needs to prove or needs to hustle or needs to feel unhappy. And I'm deciding to return to the version of me who already knows. And you can just take a few more deep breaths, and I'm actually just going to give you a moment or two to continue to connect with that version of you. Just find a clear picture of her in your mind. And again, there's no right or wrong way to visualize. So if you're just connecting to an emotion or a feeling, that's perfectly fine too. And then when you're ready, you can go ahead and open your eyes. Welcome back. You can stretch or take a moment. So this is the version that we just connected to in this little visualization, little bit of breathing, little bit of anchoring in affirmations that we're activating today. So the leader within, the version of you who knows that your success is inevitable, and the one who feels safe scaling, safe receiving, safe being seen. So I'm really excited to hear from you in the chat while I continue. What did this version of you look like? What did you connect to? What and how did you feel as, before and after, even taking a second just to come to yourself and take some moments to connect to yourself. And I've let quite a few people in as we were doing that. So if you just joined, I just saw Laura's comment, you'll have to do that in the replay, but we're going to take another moment towards the end to do a rewiring as well too. So you'll definitely have to stick around for that. But if you missed it, that's okay. You can always come back to the replay, but I'd love to hear from everyone, even if you just missed that little exercise. Who is the version of you that you're calling in? Who are we activating today? I'd love to hear in the comments. And I'm just going to mute everyone as you come in. So as you're telling me in the comments who we're activating today, I really want to hit home that you create your reality. So your business is built and guided by your subconscious identity, and you are the only one who has the power to shift it. So everything that you are experiencing in your business right now, your income, your engagement, your clients, your emotional state is being created again and again by the identity that you're currently operating from, because our subconscious mind loves familiarity, loves comfortability. And this telling you this is not about blame. I want you to, if you take anything from this masterclass today, realize that you have the power to shift so much. So your subconscious beliefs shape what feels safe, what feels possible, and what feels familiar. So even if you consciously say, I want to scale my business, I want more freedom, I want to show up authentically, I want to release the fear of being seen, I want to, stop overthinking everything, I want to spend less time on my phone. Consciously, if you say that, your subconscious mind will only allow what aligns with your current internal set point to happen. So if that internal set point still believes more success maybe means more pressure, or slowing down means I'm losing momentum, or being fully seen risks potential rejection from people that are watching me or people from high school, then it will block what you say you want. So the good news here is that the moment that you decide to change the beliefs, you also change your business. So the moment that we begin to set the intention behind the person that we want to be, the identity that we want to have in business, we begin to change the business. You're not at the mercy of your circumstances or the algorithm or TikTok or TikTok shutting down or your email list or whatever. You're the creator of those things, and you get to be the creator of those things. So I want you to take your power back in this as well too. So we're going to shift what you're available for starting now. We're creating new standards, a new identity, a new version of you. And I'm just reading through some of these comments. So Abby said, the main thing I'm working through right now is overcoming fear of being seen. That's great that you're here. Molly said she's confident, calm, comfortable receiving abundance. It's not scary. It feels safe and so normal. Love that. Laura said, today I've been activating dream clients saying yes for my new offer and being the one that can hold them in their transformation. I'm so excited. Yay. Okay. I'm so glad you guys are here. So we're going to activate that today. So strategy typically isn't the problem. And the reason I want to talk about strategy just a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit, is because most people think that their strategy in their business is the problem. I need to tweak my messaging. I need to tweak my marketing. I need better funnels. I need blah, blah, blah. But that's not the problem. And you're not underqualified. You don't need more certifications. You're just wired for pressure. 99% of the time, your subconscious mind does not feel safe creating the success that you want. So strategy without identity alignment, which I just mentioned, that identity piece typically equals some sort of sabotage. So our subconscious mind, because it likes familiarity, like I mentioned, will cause you to unconsciously self-sabotage the things that you say you want. So even though you're executing like a pro in your business, likely you have followed all the quote unquote rules, you've launched like clockwork, or you've invested in mentorship, you know what to do, there can still be some incongruency there within your subconscious mind that causes the strategy to not work the way that we want it to work. So what's actually happening behind the scenes is that, and this is, very near and dear to what I hear my clients tell me every single day, is I panic after a big, high cash month. Even though I made, let's say, like $7,000 or $10,000 in the last month, or $20,000, I still don't feel good. I shrink when, I'm posting content and I just post like, what I think needs to be posted, instead of, really going after the visibility that I'm truly craving, because it feels risky to do anything else. Or I rewrite my entire offer, when signups slow, or I like tweak my entire funnel because I assume that I'm the problem. There's something wrong with my strategy. And this isn't about, like I said here, you're not unqualified. You don't need more certifications. This isn't about incompetence. This is your subconscious mind trying to protect you. It says, okay, we're not succeeding quite yet. We're not happy quite yet because we've created this internal compass for what guides our happiness. So let me tweak something outside of myself rather than realizing that I'm the key. So when growth feels emotionally unsafe, you'll sabotage results to return to that familiar. So this could look like hustling when, it feels more productive than resting, staying in low ticket offers because high ticket feels maybe too vulnerable, over coaching, over delivering. I see a lot of OBMs do this that I coach because they feel like, their price point doesn't maybe match their worth. And so they'll over deliver in their coaching because they don't feel safe being like fully in that price point. And so this could look like constantly, sending more messages or being available to clients 24/7 or being available on weekends, right? And this is where the subconscious identity work comes in. So you'll have to let me know if you resonate with any of these things in the comments. Definitely like connect with me and tell me how you're feeling. Because when our identity is wired for pressure, it doesn't matter how refined that strategy is, your mind will keep pulling the brakes, and therefore your body and your behavior will also keep pulling the brakes. So if you've been trying to scale while stuck in survival mode, it's not a strategy problem, it's a safety problem, and that's obviously what we're here to shift. So the subconscious code, your inner code, equals your outer results. So what you're used to is what you'll create. We already talked about this a little bit, but your subconscious doesn't care about your goals. It cares about what's familiar. So if your current code, and we're going to dive into what your current code is, and we're going to dive into also how to shift that, is that more success equals more pressure, rest equals guilt, or visibility equals rejection, then even with the best strategy, your actions will default to what feels emotionally safe, not what is logically aligned for your growth. And I'm going to actually share with you the way that I look at this with my clients as well too, how we identify how they're subconsciously self-sabotaging in their strategy. But this means that unconsciously you'll hustle harder during big months instead of holding them, stay underpriced even when your demand increases, stick to last minute launches because ease feels unfamiliar in that regard. And if that inner identity or that inner code that we're speaking of still matches a version of you that's built by this survival mode, your business will reflect that every single time. And so that is why we rewire. That is why we do this work. So your subconscious code reflects where you're going and not where you have been in the past. So we're going to take a moment to spot your subconscious sabotage patterns. And I want to highlight that these are not just random habits. Any behavior that you have in your business, whether it's serving you or it's not serving you, is likely stemming from some sort of subconscious belief or identity piece. And so they're protective patterns. So we're going to get radically honest about what our own internal code is here. And these patterns, again, are they're not like quirks or flaws. They're actual survival strategies that your subconscious is running on autopilot to keep you safe. So this could look like, I know that I need to show up in a bigger way in my business in order to create success, but I can't get myself to create a TikTok video. This could also look like, I just hit a $50,000 month, and instead of showing up in a really powerful way and continuing that momentum, I pull away because my nervous system freaked out. So there's a lot of different ways that this can show up for you, right? Just a few examples again can be like over delivering in every container, delaying launches because you never feel ready enough, discounting your offers even when the demand is high, right? We've talked about a lot of this, ghosting your audience when your engagement slows. That one's huge. Working nonstop because resting feels like losing momentum. That's another really big one, right? And none of these are random. They are identity-based protective mechanisms. So when your subconscious equates success with danger, it will slow down, overwork, or shrink to keep you safe. So we're going to figure out what your inner code is right now. And I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and you can actually get out a piece of paper and a pen, or you can get out a document, and you can work along with me, or you can just look at the questions and you can just kind of sit with them yourself. It doesn't really matter. Whatever way feels the best for you today. You can always come back to this. Of course, this is going to be available for you. But these are the signs that your subconscious code needs a rewire, that you need a new code. So the first step to subconscious reprogramming is to bring so much awareness to our unconscious and subconscious thoughts. So I want you to ask yourself first, and again, you can get out a little document or a piece of paper or just sit with this. Do I celebrate or spiral after big sales months? And this exposes upper limit beliefs and fears of sustaining success, which is a classic subconscious block. So do I celebrate or spiral after big sales months? On the surface, when this happens, you hit a record month and immediately maybe worry how to repeat it. I've seen this happen time and time again with my clients. Or you move the goalpost instead of celebrating. So instead of celebrating like, oh my gosh, I just hit, my biggest month ever. And it doesn't matter if it's like your biggest month is $3,000 or if it's $50,000, it really doesn't matter because this can happen at any point in your business, right? You hit your highest income month, and instead of being like, this is incredible, I am so happy that I just did this and I signed these clients and I hit, 3, 5, 7,000, whatever, $50,000 months. You move the goalpost instead of celebrating. So then you say, okay, well, that's not good enough. I have to do the next thing. So you instantly set yourself up for more pressure, not more peace. And you tell yourself, I should be grateful because you know that you should, but secretly you feel really empty or anxious. And you've equated that success with just temporary validation, not lasting safety. So when your subconscious, and the reason that this is such a problem, but when your subconscious doesn't believe you're someone who can hold that wealth, hold that visibility or recognition, it sees success as a fluke or a threat to maintain instead of a new normal. So instead of like locking it in and really like anchoring in that level of success and expanding from it, you sabotage maybe by overthinking the next month, launching in a panic, discounting your prices, feeling anxiety, shifting your offer again. So the belief underneath this spiral here is if I don't keep outperforming myself, I'll lose it all. Or success is fleeting. I don't know how to hold this. Your subconscious is trying to protect you from the crash it's bracing for, so it creates the crash essentially itself because that feels more familiar. So write that down. Let me know if any of this resonated and if you're pinpointing any blocks here. And again, we're going to talk about how you can rewire this. But first, we're just starting with bringing awareness to the blocks. Now, the next piece of this is, and again, you can write this down, you can journal as I'm talking. Do I believe more money equals more pressure? So on the surface, you stall maybe when it's time to scale. And you aren't consciously thinking like, oh, if I have more money, then that's going to equal more pressure or that's going to equal, more responsibility. You're not consciously thinking that. So you're not every single day saying like, yeah, I can't make more money because then, it's just going to be too hard for me to maintain. A lot of these thoughts are not conscious. They're happening subconsciously. So we can identify them with behavior. So maybe you stall when it's time to scale. You feel tension when setting higher income goals, perhaps. You downplay how much you actually want to make. So maybe you do want to own the fact that you want $50,000 months, but you downplay it. You don't follow through on income producing actions, even though you quote unquote know what to do. And subconsciously, you've likely linked growth with some sort of loss of freedom. And this can even be something along the lines of like, if I make more money, my husband, will be threatened by me or something like that, right? And I actually have a whole podcast episode about that because when I met my husband, that was something that I was fearful of. And so I talked through in that podcast episode, which I can send to you guys if you're interested, how I worked through that block. But subconsciously, you've linked growth with a loss of freedom. Like more money means more clients, more DMs, more responsibility, more, teams to manage or a bigger team to manage, more visibility, more chances to fail. So instead of expanding, you kind of shrink back, you kind of sit back and avoid the pressure that you subconsciously expect will come with that success. And this is one of the most common, but most sneaky subconscious codes high-level entrepreneurs carry, because it's not about whether you want more money, it's about whether your subconscious feels safe holding it, right? So again, if you're resonating with this, let me know in the chat. The next one is ask yourself, do I disappear or feel terrible about myself if my engagement drops? This one might hit home for a lot of you guys because I know it is like a whirlwind of emotions when you get like a video that does really, really well. And then the next day you post one and you're like, why did it only get 100 views? And you feel bad about yourself and maybe you pull away or you pull back from posting when your views or likes dip. And maybe you even say, this one might hit home, but I have to be so real with you. You might even say, I'm taking space or I'm resting. But it doesn't really feel like you're resting. It actually feels like you're sabotaging yourself and you feel discouraged, maybe even question your value or your offer. Do I need to tweak something? I love that word tweak. I say it all the time in my marketing because I just need to tweak my strategy. I just need to tweak my funnel. You feel discouraged. You second guess your content. You start rewriting things. You stop mid-launch. Subconsciously, this isn't a visibility issue. It's a self-worth issue dressed up as strategy. So your subconscious has linked external response with internal value. So if they're not engaging, that means something about me. I must not be enough. If they're not engaging or if this flops, I probably messed up somehow. If they don't respond, I don't belong here. And to protect yourself from feeling that unworthiness again, your subconscious says, well, let's just pull away. Let's just stop showing up. Let's not risk that pain again. So you disappear not because you're unmotivated, but because you're trying to outrun rejection. The truth is here that if low engagement makes you feel low internally, your business is being run by old survival patterns. So if every quiet post feels like a personal failure, it's not your content, it's your subconscious code. So again, write this down, highlight, this might be one of the codes that you're running in the background. And you're not toning yourself down on purpose. You're not pulling away on purpose. Again, you're doing it to stay safe. The next one, ask yourself, do I delay launches? And there's only a couple more of these. So we're going to get through to the recode process, but it's really important that you highlight where these blocks could potentially be for yourself. So ask yourself, do I delay launches because I don't trust myself? And this goes beyond, I'm not ready, and goes into more of a self-trust, identity, and fear of success. So on the surface, maybe you tell yourself, I'm just refining my offers, but you keep tweaking your messaging, your graphics, your sales pages, your launch schedule, and you think maybe you need more time to get in the right headspace, or you label yourself as like a slow mover or a perfectionist, or you're just not ready yet. So subconsciously, this is not about your offer or the launch. It's about self-trust. Your subconscious is asking, what if I put this out and it flops? What if I can't deliver? What if I launch again and no one buys? So instead of launching, you might stall or convince yourself it's like a strategic delay. I'm doing like a strategic income dip. I've actually heard people say that, but it's really a protective mechanism to avoid potential failure or success you don't feel safe holding. And the identity underneath this one is if I launch, I have to show up fully. I have to hold more. I have to be seen. I have to risk disappointment, right? And it's easier to wait than to find out if I can handle it or if I can't handle it. And this is why so many entrepreneurs stay stuck in the loop of almost launching or almost going full force or almost being all in. rather than, just going for it. Because subconsciously waiting feels safer than risking that expansion. So the truth here is that the perfect plan won't build your confidence, but launching from a place of deep subconscious self-trust will. So this is a big one. We've got just about 3 more of these. Ask yourself, is rest something I feel like I have to earn? And this one is huge. So on the surface, you might say, I'll rest when the to-do list is done, or you feel guilty watching TV if you haven't posted today yet. You guys will have to let me know if this resonates with you. You relax, but your brain's still working on clients' content or your next offer. So you're thinking about your business 24/7. You're like, out playing, I don't know, pickleball or something with your family. I'm just like, that's what I did yesterday with my family. So I'm thinking about it. And the whole time you're thinking about your business. So you pride yourself on being productive and call it, that's just who I am. I'm just a productive, high achieving queen, right? But subconsciously, this isn't about being ambitious. It's about the fact that you believe that your worth equals the output that you put out in your business. So your subconscious believes if I'm not doing, I'm not valuable. If I slow down, I'll fall behind. Rest is only earned or for when I've earned it, like when I finish the to-do list. So rest never really happens because earning rest is a moving target when your identity is built on proving your value through work. I'll just say that again. Earning rest is a moving target when your identity is built on proving your value through work. And ironically, the very thing you believe will move you forward, pushing harder in your business, is the thing creating burnout, resentment, and inconsistent results. So again, I'll say that again. The very thing you believe will move you forward, pushing harder, is the thing creating the burnout, resentment, and inconsistent results. So this one is not about being lazy, but it's about your subconscious trying to keep you safe by keeping you productive. Because if stillness feels unsafe, your body will override every single time, override your calendar, let's say every single time. Rain said, mind blown emoji. I love that. Okay, ask yourself, do I tone myself down to be liked? So this one's interesting because I think we hear this a lot in the online space, like I'm toning myself, or, people say, don't tone yourself down or show up as her, show up as your authentic self. And you're like, but I'm not toning myself down because consciously you're not, right? But sometimes your content feels like quote unquote nice, but not memorable. And this might be why. So most people, again, this is another one where people aren't consciously saying like, let me dim my light so I don't get judged, right? You're not saying, let me dim my light so I don't get judged. Let me like tone down this piece of content so I'm not judged. But they will say, this post needs tweaking. I'm not ready to talk about that yet. Let me, word this a little bit softer, which is actually your subconscious saying visibility equals risk, success equals judgment, or your full expression equals unsafe. And if that is your code, you'll post with a filter, sound like everyone else, and you'll resent your business for not reflecting who you really are and not creating the results that you really want. When we reprogram that code, content becomes more about truth telling and actually letting ourselves be seen. And marketing almost becomes a movement, and that's where sales become natural. So you might not consciously be saying, let me dim my light so others don't, or so I don't get judged by others. But are you saying things like, this post needs more tweaking. I'm not ready to talk about that yet. Let me word this a little bit different or a little bit softer. That's how you can pinpoint if this is a block that you have. Okay, and the last one, ask yourself, does success feel something like I hold on to, or is it something that I can expand into? So this is a subtle but potent question that reveals the orientation you have towards success, survival versus safety. Does success feel like something I hold on to or something that I can expand into? So on the surface with this one, you might have finally hit a 10K month and immediately think, how do I do that again? Or you avoid changing anything in your business, even if it's not working, because you don't want to mess with what's working. Or you feel pressure to maintain results more than the excitement that you feel in creating them. Or you get hyper vigilant, let's say checking Stripe or obsessing over DMs or feeling anxious when nothing new is coming in. So subconsciously, this is clenching success instead of calibrating to more. So your subconscious has coded success as a peak moment that could slip away, a fragile state you have to protect at all costs, something that you prove you can hold on to before you're allowed more. So instead of expanding, you tighten, you contract, you brace, you're like, when is it all going to go away? Because holding success feels safer than receiving more. So sitting in your current familiar state feels safer than receiving more. So this happens when success hasn't fully integrated into your identity yet. So that code hasn't fully integrated yet, right? And it's still an exception, not the new normal. So higher income months are not quite the new normal. And when that is the case, your subconscious puts you in what we can call like a performance mode, where you're overthinking posts, over delivering, resisting innovation or evolution in your business, worrying that you'll, lose everything, right? And the goal here isn't to just hold more success, it's to become the version of you that success just sticks and magnetizes to. So these are not just habits. All of these that I just went over are not just habits. And I really hope that you took a few notes or at least just thought about these really, within yourself and got real with yourself and where these are coming up, because these are subconscious codes. And if you saw yourself in any of these, this isn't a mindset issue. It's not a discipline issue. It's not a strategy issue. It's your subconscious identity trying to protect you from what it still sees as unsafe. The perfectionism, the procrastination, the spiraling, the overthinking, the burnout, the I'll wait until I feel ready, right? None of that is random. It's programmed, and that means that it can be rewired. So when your subconscious doesn't feel safe with more, it won't let you have more, not without resistance. But the moment we shift that internal code that we're talking about today, more visibility feels natural, more money flows in without the burnout, success stops feeling like pressure and starts feeling like it's just easy for you. You're just someone who attracts success. And that is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to actually give you the breakdown of how to create this code. First, I want to just share with you a little testimonial from one of my clients so that we can really hit home that this is exactly what 99% of entrepreneurs are facing. So we're going to listen to Fran because I just love her story so much. And I want you guys to be empowered and know that you can shift into this too. So we're going to listen to her.
Okay, that was like a really big one for me because before I started doing hypnotherapy, I basically had the belief that like once I hit a certain income goal, all of the stress that I had around like money and my business and like getting clients and all of that stuff would just go away. And that didn't happen. Like last year, I hit like a couple of my highest income months in like the history of my business, and I still was stressed out and I was still worrying about like where the next project was going to come from, or like if I was going to hit the income goals that I needed to. Especially with like moving to a new area and having my living expenses increase, like I think the stress of that just kind of kept increasing and increasing, even though I wasn't seeing any like big dips in my income or anything. So like basically the numbers were telling me that everything was okay and I was still stressing about it all the time. And it wasn't until I started doing hypno that I was actually able to feel like content in my business and not worry about like where money was coming from, or like when I was going to be booking a next project, or like when the next inquiry was going to come in or anything like that. And so I feel like my nervous system is so much more calm now, and it's allowed me to actually feel like I can enjoy what I'm doing in my business instead of spending like so much of my energy worrying about everything.
Okay, and the reason that I wanted to share this is because one, it makes me emotional to think about one practice being subconscious reprogramming that you do every single day, being able to create this level of safety for yourself in the body and in your mind. And also because I literally don't care how much money you're making. I don't care if you have a six-figure, multi-six-figure, seven-figure business. If you're miserable, and I am tired of talking to seven-figure business owners who are like, I don't think I will ever be happy because I chased this thing outside of myself that I thought would make me happy. And money isn't the problem. More of it is not the solution either. And what most entrepreneurs don't realize is that your subconscious doesn't it throws a tantrum when you're broke, but it also throws a tantrum when you're really, really successful. It panics when you succeed as well too. So when your content, is converting and sales are consistent, when things get easier, that can also be when the spiral hits. You start, overworking to keep momentum, or you overthink every post, worry that you'll lose it all. You'll doubt your value, unless clients validate you daily, even though you're seeing really insane results with your clients and you're making good money and you've seen growth in your business, right? And so this is what we call an upper limit problem, where you've essentially reached a new level, but your identity didn't quite catch up with that yet. So your subconscious still thinks, that more success equals more pressure. So it subconsciously sabotages your joy to restore that familiarity. So I will tell you this. The goal is not in all of this to make more money. It's to feel safe and free while doing it. Because money only flows when your energy is actually available to receive it. And your business grows with ease when you're focused on joy, when you're focused on alignment, on feeling so good that overflow becomes inevitable, when you're, feeling so good that people can't help but want to work with you because your alignment is magnetic. And that is the work that I do with my clients. So I just want to tell all of you as we continue this and we get into the recode process. I know you probably all are like, okay, but just tell us how to fix it. You don't need to prove, you don't need to perform, and you don't need to grip. You just need to become the version of you who lets it be good and feel safe in it being good. So honestly, every time I listen to her full testimonial, because I have like an hour of her telling me how much hypnotherapy changed for her, I like literally want to sob because it makes me so happy. So we're going to talk about the three rules, what your mind really thinks to keep you safe. And the three rules are safety, familiarity, and identity congruence. So your subconscious isn't here to help you grow, it's here to help you survive, and it uses three primary rules to do that. Safety, i.e., if something feels emotionally risky, overwhelming, or uncertain, your subconscious will block it, even if your conscious mind desires it. An example here can be every time you've raised your prices in the past, it's triggered fear of maybe losing clients. So now when you do that again, you shrink or you stall or you pull back instead. Familiarity being your subconscious favors what's known, even if it's not what you want. So an example of this is going to be if your business has always thrived on last minute launches or last minute pushes, your mind will resist launching with ease and space because hustle is what's familiar. And identity congruence. So your subconscious mind will fight to stay consistent with how you see yourself. So if you still subconsciously identify as someone who has to work harder than others, who is good but not the best, you'll unconsciously resist ease, leadership, or fully being seen. And so this is the real reason that you're stuck. These three rules: subconscious identity, not because you're doing it wrong, but because the version of you who's running the show doesn't yet feel safe becoming the version who holds more. So like in Fran's story, she was making more, but it still didn't quite feel safe for her to hold it, right? So your subconscious thinks it's protecting you, but it's actually limiting what you allow in. So subconscious safety really is, to tie all of this together, is being calm. It's about alignment. It's when your body, your beliefs, and your actions all say yes to your next level. When you're safe, you don't panic, tweak offers, or you trust slow seasons. You stop outsourcing your worth to validation and to needing to see income in order to see yourself as valuable, or needing to see engagement as being valuable. So safety is what creates sustainability, i.e., you're happy, you're glowing, you're magnetic, showing up is easy. Sometimes you're even maybe posting like 3 times a day, not because you feel like you have to, but because you cannot shut up about your business because you're so in alignment. You think about your business, but your business isn't your baby. So you're not thinking about it 24/7, right? and you have space, you feel good, you rest, you trust the seasons, you trust the ups and downs in your business. You're making good money, but you also feel safe in that. You feel happy in that. You're not gripping, right? So that is what subconscious safety really is. And I think Molly really hit it home too here in the chat where she said content really is the perfect word for what I want. And that's what all of this is about. So my story, I just want to tell you briefly before we get into the recode process is that, you know, when people ask how I built a six-figure business in just 8 months, because if you don't know my full story, then I'll just briefly tell you, but I started my business and I really wasn't focused on hitting 10K months because quite honestly, it just wasn't even something that I thought was possible for me. And so it was really like out of my mind. I was just having a blast running my business. I was so excited by the fact that I was even making any money at all in my business. I was so like just excited to show up every single day. And so I scaled fast because I prioritized also that alignment, that feeling good, that happiness, that excitement every single day over the aesthetics in my business. And most people, when I say, okay, I built a six-figure business in just 8 months and now 5 years later, here's where I'm at, you know, they're like, okay, well, tell me your step-by-step business plan. And the truth is it wasn't a step-by-step plan because quite honestly, if I look back, you know, 5 years ago at my content or 4.5 years ago, whenever it was, my content, my strategy sucked. I didn't, you know really even how to market myself. I was just like, I'm going to do it and I'm going to figure it out. And I was so excited by the day-to-day process of showing up in my business and doing what I loved that it really didn't matter to me. So I didn't wait to feel ready. I didn't need perfect content. I wasn't scared to look messy, you know, as I was growing. And honestly, my content wasn't that great back then. I already mentioned that, but the branding wasn't polished. I did have my branding done, but I look back at it, I'm like, this sucks. My posts weren't going viral. I, you know, showed up anyways through that really loudly, actually. And a lot of my stuff was very cringy. It was very unfiltered. It was very real. And because I wasn't trying to get it right, but I was more committed to not abandoning myself in the process than I was to, like, let's say, fitting in. And I truly let myself fail publicly. I posted before I had clarity. I didn't need the algorithm to love me. I loved my mission, you know, enough to just keep going through it all. And that's ultimately why people paid me. Not because my messaging was perfect, but because my energy was undeniable. And I actually had a client ask recently, like, well, I'm doing the reprogramming work too. So like, you know, why haven't I hit six figures yet? And I'm like, but are you having fun? Like, are you actually loving the day to day? Are you actually like having fun and realizing that you get to do this every single day and you get to post on social media for free and you get to talk about things that you love and it gets to be fun, right? And so in that process where, you know, I had this really quote unquote fast success, I wasn't blaming the algorithm or obsessing over engagement. I was obsessed with asking, you know, myself, how am I subconsciously sabotaging right now? So when something didn't go to plan, or oh my gosh, when something didn't go to plan, I asked myself, what part did I play in this? Was I actually showing up fully? And that level of self-responsibility that I had throughout this process, that is what built my brand so quickly. And that's what created sustainable income. And that's what kept me moving when, you know, most people would quit. I've had many scenarios where I think a lot of people would have walked away in business. And that level of safety within myself is what kept me going. And I scaled because my subconscious was already on board. I didn't wait to do the subconscious work. I didn't say, you know, like, oh, okay, now I'm having a mindset issue. Like, now I'm going to do the subconscious work. I was doing the subconscious work 5, 6 months into my business is when I started doing hypnotherapy. And now I've been doing it almost every single day for, you know, 4.5 years. And I didn't also need to convince myself that I was worthy during this time. I just acted like I was. I just chose to say, you know, have no other option. I'm making this work. This is what I want to do. This is my mission. And I also didn't wait for confidence either. I built it by moving. I didn't wait for self-trust. I built it by moving. And I think what most people miss is that their inner world needs to be aligned with what they desire in their outer world to allow their business to catch up with that and actually create what they want. So I wanted to tell, you know, a little bit of my story because I was scaling during this time, but I did it differently. No one else around me was doing hypnosis. Maybe people were doing, EFT, and we were talking about breath work, and no one was doing hypnosis. No one was doing the reprogramming. And I said, I'm going to be different because I don't want to be like these other coaches that I see leave their business, a couple years in because they built something that they hate and they don't have time for their family and their marriage is ruined because of it. I will not be that person. And so I chose to do it differently from day one. And that is ultimately what created this level of success for me. So overall, happiness is the strategy. Joy equals magnetism, peace equals profit. Your business doesn't grow by forcing more. You grow it by becoming someone who actually enjoys what she's creating. When you are lit up, your content lands, your sales feel natural, your energy converts, and happiness shouldn't just be the reward. Oh, when I hit $10,000 months, when I have 50,000 followers, then I'm going to be happy, right? It's the actual strategy. So we're going to talk about, how we're actually going to do the recode process. But this is, this happiness piece isn't just about like, okay, I'm going to feel happy every single day. And, my mood is that I'm happy. It's also, it's deeper than that. It's all these subconscious pieces that we're talking about. Because your subconscious mind's number one job is to protect you, not to make you rich, successful, or visible. And because it creates patterns that prioritize that familiarity over fulfillment, this is the strategy. So if you're used to stress, urgency, proving, pressure, that becomes your baseline of safety. And that means even if you're making more money, signing more clients, or going viral, your subconscious will self-sabotage if joy and peace feel unfamiliar or unsafe. So again, that can look like procrastinating when things feel too easy, creating drama, or busy work right after a massive win, feeling unmotivated unless you're under pressure. That's a huge one. I see a lot of people say, well, I only do work when I'm under pressure, when it needs to be done tomorrow, but I procrastinate it up until then. And your subconscious isn't necessarily trying to ruin your success, but it's trying to bring you back to what it thinks is safe. So when you prioritize joy, peace, fun, and creativity in your business, you're not being indulgent. You're actually teaching your subconscious, this is safe. Success can feel like this. I don't have to sacrifice to scale. And that's when the sabotage stops. That's when income holds. That's when you naturally expand because your subconscious finally believes that you are safe to have more. So high-level entrepreneurs scale by being safe or feeling safe being seen, subconsciously safe being paid, and subconsciously safe being successful. So the difference between entrepreneurs who stay stuck at the same level and the ones who expand into more with grace and power, or even the difference between the ones who grow really, really fast and then feel like they're miserable in their business and who expand into more with grace and power. The ones who stay stuck in that misery react to every low engagement post by spiraling or going silent. They redo their offer every month because they don't trust it will sell again. They feel like they're constantly, having to earn their next client, or they're burnt out because their business is running on fear, not this belief that we're talking about, right? But high-level entrepreneurs don't play that game. They don't scale by doing more. They scale by becoming someone who doesn't flinch every time results fluctuate. And they're working smarter, not harder. So they keep showing up with conviction, even when numbers dip. They trust their audience is warming, even if, DMs are quiet. They stay sold on their offers, even when nobody clicks for a day or two. And, quite honestly, in my mastermind launch, when I found out I was pregnant, I pulled away a little bit. And I had a period of time for about a month where not a single person reached out about my mastermind. And no one would have known that from my Instagram because I showed up every single day and I sold it every single day. And that is the kind of power that you have to create this level of success. So we choose to believe that growth is inevitable because it is. So they've done the work to feel safe being seen, safe being paid, safe in that success, not constantly proving. And the real shift is this emotional shift into happiness and safety and success in being paid, etc. And it's a full body belief that I am already the leader that my business requires. I am enough as I am right now to create success. So with all of that being said, let's talk about the recode process. And this is, the formula that I use with my clients in hypnotherapy calls. So these are, guided by questions that I actually ask them, this process, and also the process that I take myself through. So before I show you this rewire process, and really it's very, very simple, I'm going to actually take you through a step-by-step process that you yourself can go through to reprogram some things within yourself. Just know that this is the process that shifts your business from that burnout and that misery that we're talking about to belief, or, spiraling to stability and that content feeling that, Molly mentioned here, which I love. And really, what we are doing is we're releasing a couple of main blocks. So we're releasing the emotional addiction to struggle, because most entrepreneurs are unconsciously addicted to chaos, pressure, performance, because that's what earned them validation in the past. And before you can truly scale, you have to let go of the identity that says, I only succeed when I'm proving something. We also reprogram the belief that success equals pressure. So we rewire the subconscious stories that say more income equals more stress, more visibility, more judgment, or that everything will fall apart the second that you rest. So this is about teaching your mind that success is safe, spacious, and sustainable. And then we rebuild your business, not around the identity, not around urgency, or sorry, around identity, not around that urgency. And so once the inner shift happens, the outer structure in your business can begin to match it. So that means your content, your pricing, your boundaries, all of your systems, all of it is rebuilt from the version of you who already knows she's safe being seen, safe being successful, safe being paid, right? And so this isn't necessarily about, slapping a new strategy on top of old beliefs. This is about the internal foundation that makes everything else finally work. And you'll notice as you start doing this work that you'll start to make these shifts in your strategy that really align with where you're going. So you'll notice you'll just naturally be like, oh, well, my pricing's way too low. I gotta change it. Oh, this messaging doesn't align with me anymore. I have to tweak it, right? And that is the strategy tweaks that actually come from alignment. So we start with the releasing, the reprogramming, and then we align your business strategy to the actual reprogramming that we've done. So this is what I do with my clients who are scaling, where we're constantly integrating the reprogramming with the actual business strategy, and we're integrating the two. And this isn't about doing more, but about showing up differently. So rewiring safety in real time, this actual recode process, what this is going to look like is obviously shifting your identity, not your strategy. As much as I love strategy work, you guys know if you've worked with me before, I love strategy. It's something that I is near and dear to my heart. And I love a good marketing strategy. I love all of the things, but this is the foundation to those strategy tweaks. So the way that you are going to actually rewire safety in real time. And what I will do as well too, when we send out emails after this with the replay and stuff like that, is I'll actually put this in the emails so that you have access to this, and maybe you can take a screenshot or you can copy and paste it in a document or something like that so that you have access to it. But the first step, and I'll actually post this in the chat so you guys can look at it as we're going through it, is to identify the pattern. So based on that little exercise that we did together at the beginning, where I asked you all of those questions, you guys begun to, in that process, and you mentioned, this one definitely resonates. Yes, I feel, away when engagement drops, definitely resonate with all of this. So in those questions, you began to identify some patterns, right? So all blocks stem with those patterns and behavior. So you can ask yourself, what behavior or reaction keeps looping on repeat based on those questions that I already asked you? Maybe it's like procrastination before launches. Maybe it's, some of the other things we mentioned here, like rest or over delivering or spiraling. Once you have identified the patterns, you can begin to name the subconscious belief that is within that pattern. So you're going to want to actually ask yourself, and we'll do this in just a second. I'm just going to walk you through it first, and then I'll actually take you through it. But I want you to ask yourself, what does this pattern or this behavior keep me safe from? Or what story is this behavior protecting me from? And when we are in a subconscious theta brainwave state where we actually have access to the subconscious mind, you will get the answer to that. So, maybe you'll hear success isn't safe, rest is laziness, or if I raise my prices, I'll lose people, or, more money equals more responsibility. But obviously, these beliefs aren't conscious, they're coded in your subconscious. So you might not consciously, as you're looking at these things, you might not be able to identify the belief. The third step to this rewire process is to choose a new identity. So you're going to ask yourself, who do I want to become in these moments? What does she believe? Maybe it's just like I'm safe to be seen, or I'm worthy of ease, or my value is not tied to my performance, or I can trust myself to hold more. Maybe it's just simply I'm safe. And then the next step of this is to rehearse the emotion. And again, I'm going to take you through this in just a moment. But when I say rehearse the emotion, what I mean by that is I want you to actually picture your highest self in real time. How does she walk in her day? How does she feel, in her business on a day-to-day? What does that content or happy or joyful feeling feel like? How does she respond when things slow down? Is she still really convicted within herself? Because subconscious change sticks, and we actually rewire and reprogram in real time through emotion and repetition. So it's really important throughout this process that you get into the emotion behind how you want this version of you to feel. So let your body feel that joy, that peace, that power now. The next aspect of this is to anchor it with repetition. So rewiring requires repeated exposure to the new beliefs and also emotion. So the more often you affirm this identity, the safer it becomes. So what I'm going to ask you to do as we go through this rewire process together here is that you say to yourself, I'm safe receiving more. I trust my power, my presence, or you create your own affirmation that comes directly from your highest self that you're able to move forward with. And I want you to actually maybe get like a little sticky note out or something and write that down. And I want you to repeat it to yourself every single day, again and again and again, but also know that you can come back to this practice yourself. And if you come back to this practice yourself, all you have to do is do what we did at the beginning. Take a few moments to relax, take a few moments to take some deep breaths to get into that relaxed state, and then go through this process where we identify the pattern, name the belief, choose a new identity, get into the emotion, and then anchor it with the repetition. And the last thing I'm going to ask you to do is to further anchor with some sort of physical somatic anchor. And this can be like by placing a hand on your heart, or this can be, holding your own hands, or this could be giving yourself a hug, or this could be, anything that allows you to actually touch and connect with the body. And we're going to anchor that in somatically deeper. And this is how you create that subconscious safety, because we're not shifting the strategy, we're shifting the state. So we're going to do this together. I'm going to stop my share for just a second so that I can play some music, and we're going to do it live together. It's probably going to take like 10-ish minutes. And so you guys are going to want to get into a little bit of a comfortable position. You can stay seated. It's not going to take too long. But I'm going to walk you through this so that you can do this yourself inside and outside of this session. Let me just share my music and then we're going to get right into it. So when you are ready, especially if your camera's open, you can just let me know that you're ready by closing your eyes. Perfect. Okay, and with your eyes closed, you can just go ahead and get back into that deep breathing that we did at the beginning. I'm just going to ask that you take about 3 deep breaths, maybe even placing your hand on your stomach for just a moment. Breathing in fully, and a slow, gentle exhale. Breathing in slowly, and a slow, gentle exhale. And I just want you to notice, just by intending to do so, your body begins to relax just by taking those deep breaths. And I want you to, as much as you can, to find stillness in the body. If this practice is new for you, you might find that wiggling, itching, all of those things come about the minute you try and find stillness. So we want to really work to staying present with my voice and finding that stillness within your body. And I just want you to imagine that there is a waterfall of relaxation that is traveling from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes. And this waterfall of relaxation is just slowly, calmly relaxing these different areas of your body, starting at the top of your head. I want you to just notice that all the frown lines, any worry lines in your face begin to disappear. Maybe you can begin to let your eyelids grow just a little bit heavier. Maybe you can allow your shoulders to drop. Maybe you can even feel a gentle tingling behind the ears. And that waterfall of relaxation continues to travel into the chest, into the stomach, down the spinal column, down both arms, over the elbows, the forearms, the hands, the fingers, everything lying so comfortably here now. And you can almost see in your mind's eye that waterfall of relaxation in whatever color you see it, just traveling from the top of your head down to the beautiful tips of your toes, soothing, calming relaxation being invited in here. And just know that what the mind sees, the body tends to do. So when the mind says relax, the body tends to follow just by intending to do so. Just noticing that relaxation continue to travel down both legs, over the knees, the calves, the shins, the ankles, the feet, all lying so comfortably here now. Maybe taking another deep breath in through the belly, really feeling the belly expand, and a slow, gentle exhale, maybe just sighing it out the mouth. I'm going to count backwards from 10 to 0, and each numeral will take you deeper and deeper down into this relaxation. But just noticing with the counting alone, your body begins to relax even more so. Just know that you are doing this right as long as you are feeling relaxed. So 10, just going deeper, more and more relaxed. 9, going even deeper. 8, way down now. 7, deeper, going even deeper. 6, going deeper still. 5, 4, 3, going even deeper. 2, going deeper and deeper. And 1, at the next number, entering this beautiful place of peace, relaxation, and ease, just knowing that you're doing it right as long as you're feeling relaxed. 0, shifting down, letting go, just letting your body relax even deeper here. And I want you to just go back to all of the questions that I asked you here today. And you began to identify some patterns and some behaviors that are continuing to loop on repeat. So I want you to begin to identify the number one pattern that you want to shift here today. What behavior or reaction or pattern keeps looping on repeat? And you can just choose whatever comes to mind first. It doesn't really matter. Just trusting that your subconscious mind is choosing what is most resonant with you. And I'll just give you a moment to identify that pattern. Taking a deep breath and just remembering we're not shaming ourselves for these patterns. Our subconscious is just simply keeping us safe. So just giving yourself a lot of grace throughout this process. It is safe for you to shift this here today. It is safe for you to fully own your power and to create more happiness, joy, and ease. And now I want you to ask yourself, now that you've identified that pattern, and just notice when you ask your subconscious mind a question, it will give you an answer. It's almost like typing a Google search in and getting an answer. There will be something that will come up. It might not be something that you're expecting, but just trusting. So I want you to ask yourself, what story is this behavior protecting me from? And I want you to just notice what comes through, just trusting that your subconscious mind is doing the work for you. What story is this behavior protecting me from? What story is this pattern protecting me from? And now that you've identified maybe what belief is coming forward, just remembering that these beliefs aren't often conscious, they're coded in your emotional subconscious memory, but we can choose to rewrite and reprogram, rewire this belief in real time. So I want you to ask yourself and choose a new identity here in this space. Who do I want to become in these moments? What does that version of me believe? And you can begin to maybe find a picture of this new identity, maybe connecting to it even deeper than you did at the beginning of this call. Who do I want to become in those moments? And what does that version of me believe? And I want you to find a really clear picture of this version of you. The version of you that's safe being seen, worthy of ease, safe in rest, trusts yourself to hold more, is content in everything that you do, finds happiness inside and outside of business, and really holds themselves radically responsible to creating these changes. What does that version of you look like, feel like, sound like? Just remembering that subconscious change sticks when you make it feel real in your body. So as you are picturing your highest self in real time, Noticing how this version of you walks into their day, how this version of you feels when your Stripe account balance increases or your business makes more money, or how this version of you responds when things slow down, or how this version of you feels on a day-to-day. And I want you to choose one emotion that you would like to feel in regards to these beautiful goals that you have. And let your body feel that joy, that peace, that power now. And just know that this is a practice. So if you find that it's hard to access that emotion right now, that's okay. You can always come back to this recording. You might even find it helpful to think back to a time where you felt joy, peace, and power, gratitude, happiness, whatever the emotion is, and let that memory guide your emotions. And your subconscious will create change, and it will stick when this version of you feels real in the body and in your mind. So just beginning to access that emotion, letting your body feel that joy, that peace, that happiness, that power, that content feeling now. And I'll just give you a few moments to really access that emotion. Just trusting whatever's coming forward for you. There's no right or wrong way to experience this practice. And when you feel ready, I want you to ask that version of you that you saw in your mind, that higher self version that you connected to, if it has a gift for you today that you can take forward. And let this gift be a beautiful affirmation that you can use daily with conviction to really anchor this in. And you can choose your own affirmation, just trusting that whatever comes forward is being beautifully spoken to you by your own mind. And then I'm just going to read the next few statements almost like I'm reading an instruction manual for your most evolved and highest self. And say after me in your mind's eye, I am safe, receiving more. I trust my pace, my power, my presence. I am worthy right now of creating the success that I desire. My success is sustainable. My success is inevitable. Money responds to who I am, not just how hard I hustle. And then you can choose, once you have that affirmation in your mind's eye, a physical anchor. So you can maybe place your hand on your heart or in your lap, or give yourself a little hug. Or maybe there's something else that feels right, but I want you to just breathe in once you've created that physical anchor, and just repeat that affirmation that came forward for you just a few times in the mind as you anchor this in the body with your physical anchor. Taking a few more deep breaths and just settling into this space. And just repeating that affirmation, even just 5 more times. And then in just a moment, I will count you up. So at the count of 5, you'll be wide awake, refreshed, alert, ready to allow these suggestions to work for you. So when you are ready, 1, beginning to come back slowly. 2, integrating at the deepest subconscious levels. 3, taking your time, coming back to the body now fully, back to where you last left the conscious mind. 4, taking a deep breath in. And 5, eyes open, mind and body returning to normality, coming back slowly. And you can all just let me know how you feel in the chat before we wrap this up. How's everyone feeling? Was there anything that came forward that was surprising for you, whether it was your affirmation or the block that came forward? Did you find that it was illuminating? What did your mind do? You can just let me know in the comments if you have any questions or anything for me. Feeling really good. So while you're typing out, if you are typing out any questions or anything that you want to share with me, I want to highlight that the truth that no one will tell you about reprogramming, but I will, is that your reprogramming your identity is hard. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not like just one light bulb moment. It's basically like an emotional initiation where you're essentially going through ego deaths and changing pieces of who you are. And you're obviously not just shifting what you do in your behavior, but you're also releasing who you've had to be in the past. So it's not easy. So the over-functioning high achiever, for example, who had to earn like love through effort, or the self-sacrificing woman who equated burnout with worth, or the version of you that made herself smaller to be accepted, for example. In that shedding, it's normal to feel intense anxiety when you take time off, or guilt when your offers sell easily because you didn't over deliver, or doubt when you raise your prices because part of you still questions your value. That discomfort inside and outside of hypnosis or reprogramming isn't failure. It's the friction between your old identity and that future one. So the question is, will you stay long enough in it to let it rewire you? So if you feel that discomfort, if you're feeling the anxiety, if you're feeling that, okay, I'm in, like I'm getting closer, I'm so close, but I'm not quite there yet, just know that you're not stuck and you're likely shedding a part of you. You're not blocked still, you're just becoming. And this is the uncomfortable but powerful edge where everything begins to change. And the version of you who already, leads with that ease and that overflow and that abundance and that content happiness that we're talking about today, she's waiting on the other side of that recalibration, that hard piece. So it can often get really, really hard before it gets better. And I always like to mention that because people are not quite ready for the shedding process, and that is what will happen when you start to do this work. But with that being said, I'm glad that everyone feels so good. Molly said, I always think I won't hear anything, but I always do. Andrea said relief. Abby said it's feeling so good. Tammy said so good. Adrienne said amazing. Wow, that was really deep and relaxing. Thanks for the affirmations. Was there anything that came through for everyone that surprised you, or anything you want to share? Like, what was your affirmation that came forward, or what was the belief that came forward that you recognized? You'll have to let us know in the comments. But as you're doing that, I'm going to continue. So I want to talk about a few client wins, and then I'm also going to talk about my program called Embodying the Leader Within, which you guys are welcome to join if you loved this today, because this is what we do in the whole program, but we obviously dive a lot deeper and we do it live together. So this is one of my clients who did hypnotherapy with me. And she mentioned here that she was in one of the cycles that we're referring to. She was in this procrastination cycle, which would lead to her getting things done at the last second and then being burnt out, and then her income would dip. She was very clearly in one of those patterns, that I just walked you through, where we could identify the pattern, we could name the subconscious belief, and she consciously knew what she was doing. But it wasn't till she started doing hypnotherapy that she was actually able to shift it. So she, after our work together, was hitting consistent $20,000 months. Her workload was a lot lighter than, or sorry, workload is a little higher than usual, but she didn't feel stressed out. She was building a team. She was out of that procrastination and productivity cycle. And she said, I can't thank you enough for truly listening to all the mental, emotional things that I was going through and using your expertise to properly address them. And this was all in hypnotherapy. This other client that I have here that I just want to highlight for a second, she said that doing the subconscious work was easily just as worth it as doing strategy work in a mastermind. She said you can learn the strategy anywhere, but if you don't have the mindset shifts to support the higher levels of success, you might self-sabotage, you might believe you're not worthy of it. And so she actually, after our time together, was at a point in her business where she was making $15,000 months. Business had never felt easier. She attracted higher level clients. She matched her pricing to be confident in her ability to retain those clients. And so she actually ended up taking weeks off of marketing without having that downward spiral and where her next client was coming from, and still felt expansive, still was making this, consistent income, and was really comfortable in her current success. So again, broke that pattern of I get stressed out, I work more, I find more to do, and my income dips. So this is what we do together in Embodying the Leader Within. And if you scan this QR code right now and join now, you actually get a one-on-one bonus intensive with me. So we'll work on both the business and the strategy together. And if anyone scans this and it doesn't work, please let me know and I can send you the link, because it wasn't working on my phone, but I think it should be fine. But this container is something that I launch once a year. It is 3 months long, and I was actually launching it at the same time last year. And it's one of my favorite programs, and it's the program that people like literally sign up for every single year because they love it so much. And it is your rewire container where we do all of this deeper. So it's not about content or strategy, it's about what's happening underneath all of that. So this is for you if you resonated with everything that we're talking about today and you're like, I need to go deeper, or even with what Abby said here, you're like in the middle of an identity shift and it's just, you really need to double down on that deeper mindset work. And if you're tired of overthinking your content, doubting yourself, your strategy is solid and you're constantly trying to force momentum that should be flowing. So this is a subconscious reprogramming, hypnotherapy, and energetic expansion program that is designed to help you feel safe receiving more, being seen, and making money without all of that inner chaos that we mentioned here today. And this is also where the high performing women come to clear the beliefs that making money and success feel heavy instead of natural. So it is 3 months of subconscious reprogramming for entrepreneurs ready to scale from safety. And it is basically weekly hypnotherapy. So this is for you if you feel like you can't take your foot off the gas without everything falling apart. You're watching what Sally is doing over there and like trying to implement it. You're following what everyone else is doing. You're comparing yourself. You're constantly finding yourself in the spiral of should I be doing more? Or you've hit a ceiling in your income and more strategy isn't the answer anymore. And obviously in this masterclass together, we just identified where your subconscious is holding you back and you've done the strategy work. So now it's just time to go deeper. So Embodying the Leader Within, I already mentioned this, but is a 3-month container, and it's designed for entrepreneurs who already know the strategy, but are done with the constant pressure, hustle, and resistance. So I right now have a couple specials going on. If you join before April 25th, you get $1,000 off plus free access to my program, Fuck the Messaging Chaos, which is a full-blown messaging program that you can take yourself through at your own pace. And you obviously get access to this bonus one-on-one business intensive with me if you join by the end of today from this masterclass. And again, this isn't just a program, but it's the missing piece that you've been circling around where you're like, why does it everything still feel hard? Because you've done the content, you've tried the strategy, but the reason it still feels fragile is because your subconscious hasn't caught up. So inside, we'll rewire your subconscious to hold success without spiraling, rebuild trust in your offers, your pricing, your presence, scale from belief, like we mentioned today, not the burnout. And it starts on May 15th. So you can DM me if you have any questions or check this link, go through it, and then DM me if you have any questions. And then you're going to want to either DM me or just scan this and join in order to get access to this bonus intensive. And I hope everyone loved this. I just saw all the comments. Let's see. For me, it was finding my identity, finding my path forward with my close friends. Abby said she needed to hear this. Awesome. Molly's affirmation was it's safe to hold more. I love that. Really appreciate the hypnosis. And then Cora said, I've got to hop off, but my advice to anyone who's thinking about working with Addison in any capacity, do it. She's the best. Love Cora. Does anyone have any last minute questions for me? We went like a couple minutes over, but any questions around subconscious reprogramming, around embodying the leader within, or anything like that before we hop off? Awesome. Well, if you have any questions, you're welcome to DM me, but I loved connecting with all of you. It was so cool to see so many new faces here. I think most of you I've not really ever connected with live, so it was really fun. I hope you have an amazing Monday, and I will chat with you soon. Bye, guys.